Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry about the change in plans. I had something come up that I had to take my daughter up to the doctor this morning to check out. She got a kind of bummed her knee out yesterday during the volleyball game. So you guys are going to make sure that you guys watch this video completely. All right, in class students, you guys need to make sure that you guys are on your very best behavior. Now, I haven't gone through any rules about subs because we haven't had any, but basically is this: if you get your name written down, all right, you and I are going to chit chat about what's going to happen next. So just be on your very best behavior, do what you're supposed to do. Okay, so here we go. Let's first of all, I need everybody to open up your math books, turn to page 240, 240. I want to really quick go through these three questions with you. So everybody open up your math books to page 240 right now. Find your books. Okay, you guys are getting out your books right now. And this assignment, remember I told you, I only want to make sure that you attempted these problems, right? Okay, so it was okay if you got them wrong. That was all right with me. I just needed you to attempt them. Okay, so here we go. A peregrine falcon dives for its prey. Its elevation changes by an average of a negative 11 and 5/10 meters every single second. The dive lasts for 3 and 2/10 of a second. What is the change in the falcon's elevation? What does this mean in the context of the problem? Show your work. So think about this, all right? It dives negative 11 and 5/10 meter every single second, and it does this for 3 and 2/10 of a second. So here's the bird right here. I can't draw birds, so you get a dot. Okay, and we know that it's diving down, and it dives down for 3.2 seconds, right? Well, here's what we know. Every 1 second, okay, so this is right here, this is 1 second, it's gone down that many meters. So that's 1 second. 2 seconds, it's gone down another 11.5. And 3 seconds, it's gone down another amount right there. And then we just have this little left 2/10 of a second left over. Okay, so this is the visual that I want you guys to see. But in reality, to find out how what the change in that falcon's elevation is, we would just multiply 11 and 5/10 times 3 and 2/10. Now remember, first thing, okay, when multiplying decimals, ignore the decimal sign or the decimal where the decimal's at, okay? And the next thing is ignore the negative and positive sign. Remember that when you multiply decimals, you don't have to line up the dot. So we're just going to go 11 and 5/10 times 3 and 2/10. Okay, just like that. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1, bring down the 0. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. And I'm done with that too. So here's my placeholder. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to this one. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1, bring down the 5. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 more is 4. And then 3 times 1 is 3. And now I'm going to add those together. So 0, 8, 6, 3. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to find out how many numbers are to the right of the decimal. So 1 number, 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. So what that means is my decimal is located at the end. I'm going to move it over 1, 2 times. So I know that this comes out to be 36.8 meters. But now go back. Remember, in integers, a negative times a positive is a negative. Okay? All right. So there's your answer. Now it says, what does this mean in the context of the problem? Okay, it means the falcon dove down 36 8/10 meters in 3.2 seconds. Okay, so that's basically what that means. All right, next, number 8. This is a blast from the past, right? Some fraction action happening. Remember, when multiplying fractions, you have to make them both so that they are actually fractions. So negative 27 is an integer, so we're going to make it an improper fraction. Okay, so it looks like that. Right now, again, ignore the signs for just a second. Go back and just multiply fractions like you guys learned how to multiply fractions. Method number 1, you can multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and then reduce it down. Okay, you could do that. Method number 2, my favorite method. My favorite method is doing the cross simplifying. Is there a number that goes into 9 and 27? Yes, 9. 9 goes into 9 once, 9 goes into 27 3 times, and now multiply it through. 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 1 is 1, which simplifies down to 1. Now that we have that, go back and look at the sign. A negative times a negative. Okay, remember my little, remember the slot machine? If 2 of the same signs come up, it's a positive. Okay, 2 of the same signs come up, a positive. So that's my answer. My answer is positive 3. All right, next. A freezer in a lab is set so the temperature changes at a rate of negative 1 6/10 degrees Celsius every hour. What is the change in temperature after 4 1/4 hours? So the issue that we have, okay, we're going to do the same thing. Okay, think about this. All right. Okay, if I put this on a number line, hour 1, it changed at a negative 1.6. Hour 2, another negative 1.6. Hour 3, another negative 1.6. Hour 4, a negative 1.6. And then it doesn't go all the way. It only goes to a 1/4. So there's that little itty bitty piece that we would have to figure out. So if you look at this, the better way of doing it is we are actually going to multiply negative 1 6/10 times 4 1/4. Now, here's the issue that we have. The issue is that one's a decimal and one's a fraction, mixed number. And we can't multiply those together unless they're in the same form. Well, here's your 2 methods. Method number 1, you change them both into decimals. So if you change them both into decimals, all right, we already know that negative 1 6/10 is a decimal. Negative 4 1/4, okay? To change a fraction into a decimal, it's division. So this is 1 divided by 4. So what 4 doesn't go into 1, so put a placeholder in a 0. 4 goes into 10. Oh, bring the decimal up. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract, that's 2. Up, I got a remainder. So I add another 0 and bring it down. 4 goes into 25 times. That's 20. Subtract, and I have my answer. So this right here is really 4 25/100ths. Okay. All right. So we're just going to multiply whatever number has the most digits to it. So 4.25 times 1.6. So that's 30. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 more is 15. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 more is 25. Placeholder, that's done. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 4 is 4. And then we're going to add these together. So 7 plus 1 is 8. And that's a 6. Now we go back. There are 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right of the decimal. So I move it over 1, 2, 3 times. So my answer is 6 8/10 degrees Celsius. And now go back. What's a negative times a positive? It's a negative. Okay. So that's if you want to change it both to decimals. Method number 2 is changing them both to fractions. So we already know this is a fraction. So to make this into a fraction, we have to read it, write it, and reduce it. So negative 1 6/10. Negative 1 6/10. Okay, that's how that looks. Now I'm going to reduce this. So this would be negative 1. 2 goes into both of these. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply it by 4 1/4. So if you guys remember, to multiply fractions, I am going to multiply then add. So 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8/5. Okay, this one, 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1 is 15/4. So that's what it looks like. Now, again, you can multiply that out, but I highly recommend that you cross simplify. 5 and 15. 5 goes into both of those. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 4 and 8. 4 goes into both of those. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 8 twice. And now I have it. So I am going to multiply straight through. So 2 times 3 is 6. And sorry, you guys, I got all excited because I thought I made a quick little mistake here. Okay, so ignore this right here. So let's try this again. So this again is negative 8/5. That one was right. This one over here, 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1 is 17/4. So with that being said, 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 8 twice. And now if I multiply this through, this becomes 34/5, right? And 5 goes into 34 6 whole times, right? And 4/5 left over. And then a negative times a positive is a negative. Okay. And if you think about it, 6 4/5 is the same as negative 6 8/10. Okay, so those were your answers from your assignment from yesterday. Now, what we're doing today is we're just going to work on, this is kind of a blast from the past, but what I noticed is that we probably do need to spend a little bit more time on multiplying just plain numbers. So you guys are kind of in luck today as far as what our homework assignment is. Okay, so let me share with you because you're going to probably need the whole period to do this. All right, so this worksheet right here says horoscope. The first 2 words of the horoscope are hidden in the message below. To find them, first, work out each problem below and find your answer in the circles at the bottom of the page. Second, shade in the letter above each correct answer. Okay, so if you look at this, you start at 1. Okay, so you start at 1. You're all going to need a separate piece of paper to do your work on. So number 1 is this. It's 1 2/3 times 2 1/5. Okay, so to multiply mixed numbers, first, change them into improper fractions. So 3 times 1. Okay, all right, so we change this to an improper fraction. We multiply, then add. So 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2. This becomes 5/3. Over here, 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11/5. Now, luckily, look crossways, all right? There's not a number that would reduce 3 and 11, but there is a number to reduce 5 and 5. 5. 5 goes into 5 one whole time. 5 goes into 5 one whole time. So I simplified that down. So 1 times 11 is 11. 3 times 1 is 3. Now, this right here is an improper fraction. So I want to change it back into a mixed number. So basically, it's like a division problem. 3 goes into 11 3 whole times, which is 9. 11 minus 9 is 2. So my answer is 3 whole, 2 remainder out of thirds. So it's 3 2/3. So we go down here to the bottom and we find 3 2/3. And let me find a pencil. Okay, I guess I can't find a pencil. So 3 2/3 is right here. So it says, first work out the problem and find your answer in the circle at the bottom of the page. Second, shade in the letter above the correct answer. So this was correct. So I'm going to shade this in. Okay. All right. And then you move on to number 2 and do number 2. All right. And so on and so on and so on. Okay. So that's how you do this worksheet. On the back, this is now decimals, and this works out a little bit different. Okay, math is not like chocolate candy. To find out why, follow these directions. Draw a straight line connecting each problem with its correct answer. Each line will cross a number and a line. The number tells you where to put the letter in the line at the bottom of the boxes. So here it is, ready? And again, you're gonna need to do your work on a separate piece of paper. So this first one right here is 6/10 times 7/10. So remember how to multiply decimals. You ignore the decimal and you just multiply the numbers like they're whole numbers. So 6 times 7 is 42. Now you go back. There's one number, two numbers to the right of the decimal. So that means, okay, here's my decimal point. You move it over twice. All right, so my answer is 42 hundredths, right? So back on your sheet, you're going to come over. These are the problems and these are the answers. 42 hundredths is right there. So we take a box, we take this box and we line it up to what the answer box is. Okay, and there it is. Now look, this line goes through 7 and L. So down here, you're going to go to box number 7 and you're going to put in the letter that we went through, L. So then you move on to this one. Solve this one. So 2/10, I'll write it on here, times 4/10. So 2 times 4 is 8. Uh-oh, look at this one. There's two numbers to the right of the decimal. So you actually have to move it over. Uh-oh, what do I do? There's no other number there. Well, you add a 0. So you move it over 2 times there. So it's 8 hundredths, right? So 8 hundredths, look, is right on top. So I'm going to take my box and I'm going to line up my decimal point or line up my answer to the box, and it goes through there. So it goes through 11 and N. So down here, here's 11. I'm going to put the letter N in there. Okay, so here is what you guys are doing for today. All right, for today, all right, we corrected page 240, and I'll look at those later. Next, we just reviewed multiplying rational numbers. Okay, in-person students, you guys get the worksheet. Okay, remote students, you guys, these are posted in Google Classroom in classwork. No matter what, you all need to do your work on another piece of paper. If and when you finish, you guys are to do the iReady lessons if you did not complete them yesterday. Okay, do the iReady lessons if you did not complete them yesterday. Okay,